Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 35, which is a good addition of my team selection videos because I am pretty fired up because I just watched my Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Denver Nuggets and go through to the next round of the NBA playoffs. So in a good mood, ready to attack the FPL weekend. I've already done my transfer for Game Week 35, which we'll get to eventually. But before that, we're going to go through my Game Week 34 score. And one of the downsides that I had from that game week, even though it was a pretty good game week for me, I'm going to look at the free hit team that I suggested for Game Week 34, which was not the best. And then I'm going to have another free hit suggestion for you guys for Game Week 35 in case one of you guys or some of you guys have the free hit chip available and using it in Game Week 35, or if you just want to know who's the best player to have for the next game week, pretty much. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my own team, the transfer that I've done. Pretty simple transfer, really. So not too much in the actual team selection section, I think, like with this current team that I have for next game week. But this past game week, had a good game week overall, I think, with 59 points. Had David Raya with 10 points and Gabriel with 8 points. This is without a free hit. I managed to get 59 points, which I was pretty happy with. The West Ham game also sort of delivered, especially in terms of West Ham getting 3 points, which were vital, which I was also really happy about, of course. But even with the misery that I had for a little bit with Everton scoring against West Ham and sort of making it look like West Ham were not going to win that game, it was Dewsbury Hall scoring and then Bowen gets another assist for me. So yeah, FPL-wise, really good. Premier League-wise, really good for me, that result. Really happy with that. Fernandes, as always, providing the goods, getting an assist. Of course, I could have had a better score if I'd gone with like Bowen captain or something like that, but Fernandes is just undeniable, really. He just gets points every single game week. So 59 points in total. I had some stinkers as well, though. I had Mukiele with 0 points. He conceded 5 goals against Nottingham Forest. I did not expect that at all, as you'll see in my free hit selection as well. The two Brentford guys, Dango and Thiago, I think honestly they had pretty good games, or like they were dangerous enough. It could have been a high score for either of them, but both of them got 1 point each, which is why I'm kind of sad about the transfer that I did. I sold James Hill for Mavropanos because I just felt like I needed to have a backup just in case one of my players didn't play. And Bowen was yellow flagged. There was reports that he was going to be fine, but I just was a bit unsure, especially this late in the season with rotation from European games and stuff. I just felt like I needed to have another guy on the bench. But the downside of having a playable player on the bench in game weeks like these is the fact that you could potentially bench a really good player. And that's what I did. I benched Anderson and he got clean sheet points, DEFCON points, and bonus points, I think. So 11 points for Anderson left on the bench, where I have Mukiele with 0 points, Dango with 1 point, Thiago with 1 point. I think, like, honestly, like the options for me were either not doing the transfer at all and just sticking with Hill and having no bench player. I could have done that and gotten 11, or I guess I would have lost to 4 Mavropanos points. That would have been 7 more points on my team. Or I could have benched probably Dango or Dewsbury Hall is what I was thinking. So Dewsbury Hall, not too much in terms of like if I had benched him instead of Anderson, that would have been 3 points more. But if I had benched Dango, for example, that would have been 10 more points for me, which is, yeah, a bit sad to miss out on, I guess. But still, pretty good game week. I am within touching distance of 100k. My goal now, I guess, is top 50k. Usually it is top 10k, but I think that ship has sailed basically now. It's going to be a really tough time to get top 10k for sure. Like I would have to get everything right with my team for the rest of the season pretty much to get that. So top 50k still within reach. Top 100k basically like a minimum threshold for me. Like I sort of need to see those double digits, I guess, even though I am kind of like, when I don't get top 10k and I feel like I can't get that, I sort of feel like the season is a waste anyway. So I kind of want to just have fun and do random transfers, but yeah, still going to try to play it straight, try to play it as best as I can and get the best possible rank that I can, even though it's probably not going to be a top 10k finish, which is always my goal, basically. But hopefully I can match or better my rank from last season of 53k overall, which is still a decent rank. Like, I think most people would be really happy with that, but for me, sort of was a bit disappointed with last season, even though that kind of sounds crazy for a lot of people who are struggling a bit more in the ranks. But yeah, like I said, I almost played it a bit differently and played to just have fun and like go with like emotional picks instead. So I could have done a different transfer entirely rather than Hill to Mavropanos. I could have done Mbeumo to Salah, which would have been disastrous because Salah got injured. He's going to be out for almost the rest of the season. Maybe we get like a Game Week 38 cameo. That is still my plan, to have Salah for one more game week. I feel like he deserves that after all he's done for me. So I'm looking to do that, especially if Man City have already secured the league or if Arsenal have already secured the league for the final game of the season. I think I would much prefer to just sell Haaland and get Salah. But at least I didn't bring in Salah now because he got injured, got like 1 point, I think, or did he get 3 points? Can't remember exactly, or 2 points potentially. But yeah, he basically failed in a game where I thought he was going to be good. But yeah, he got injured and got subbed off, I think, right before 60th minute. So I think he actually got 1 point in the end. So could have been a worse game week, but of course, a bit annoying to have one playable player on the bench and he got 11 points. But what you gonna do? That's gonna happen sometimes. And for me, I don't care. Like I said, my basketball team is doing great. West Ham are doing well and looking probably likely to stay up. And personal life had a couple of nice days, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyways, let's go on to the free hit draft that I had for GW34. Much worse, actually, or not much worse, I guess, 8 points difference, but 51 points on my free hit suggestion in a game week where a lot of people were looking to free hit as well. So yeah, a bit unhappy with the outcome here. I think I was a bit unlucky with the injuries to Salah and Xavi Simons, for example. Like, I thought they were going to have good game weeks. Igor Thiago had, like, I didn't talk about that enough in the team selection video, or team selection Gaming 34, like my own team basically, section of this video. But Thiago had like 2 massive chances where he just didn't shoot for whatever reason. And that doesn't show up in like the XG stats either. So XG wise, it looks like, oh, he was nothing close to scoring a goal. But honestly, he had 2 mega chances. I still think he was a good pick. Like, even against Man United, who have been a pretty good team, I think Igor Thiago was a pretty good choice there. But 1 point from him. Somerville as well had a really good game, but he wasn't really in amongst the goals for West Ham. Did a really great performance in that game, but sadly for him, didn't get any points. So 2 points from him. Of course, I also kept Mukiele in the free hit draft. This was also a bit like, as you can see, I hadn't done like my proper research right before, the day before, because there were already talks that Beto was going to be out for the game, and I had him first bench. But of course, I didn't need him, so it didn't really matter in the end. But yeah, just a bit of a bit of a bad pick for me, picking someone who was not available to play that game week. Basically, I just had pretty much had Mavropanos as the first bench option and Reinildo as the second bench option, which luckily didn't really come into play either, I guess. But yeah, overall, not the best free hit. Of course, I hope you didn't take too much of my advice if you did free hit this past game week. At least I had some hits, I guess, with the double Arsenal defense and Fernandes and Bowen. I feel like those guys were pretty good picks. Pedro Porro is one of my best alternatives as well. I mentioned him as someone you could have rather than Mukiele, for example. That would have made up the difference between my team and the free hit score. So there are some slight positives, I guess, you can see from this team. And I think even like the free hit overall rank, because I have done a free hit for every single game week this season, I think the free hit overall rank did get like a small green arrow actually from the 51 points, but not an ideal week to free hit or use my free hit team in. Basically, it was a good free hit week for most people, especially if you did wildcard in Game Week 32 and bench boosting Game Week 33. You're probably massively up on points compared to someone like me, for example, who didn't do that. But yeah, this free hit in particular was not the best, which is sad to see as a content creator trying to show you guys what the best free hit team is for a really vital free hit game week. Yeah, let's see if I can do one better. I guess like most people have used their free hit now, so maybe it's not too much value, but I always want to try to get the best possible free hit score as well, even though I haven't really been the best this season. As you can see from my free hit overall rank, is much worse than my current overall rank without unlimited transfers, which is kind of crazy. But it's been kind of a crazy season where like longevity and just sticking the course with like DEFCON players, set piece players, penalty takers, like that type of thing has been the best tactic to use this season with the new rules and stuff. I'm going to be interested to see how they change the prices and stuff for next year to account for that. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, like I said, let's go into the free hit draft for Game Week 35 and the players that I picked out for this game week. And honestly, I think it's a pretty like tough game week to choose from. I think Arsenal at home to Fulham is like the one fixture that I do like. They need to stay on top of things to get basically the Premier League title. So I think a double Arsenal defense, even triple Arsenal defense is on the cards, but I'll actually go with triple Arsenal in general. But I'll just take you through the whole team actually, one by one, from the goalkeeper through all the bench players, which are incidentally mostly Bournemouth players, and then my 3 best alternatives in case you want to go with someone different, I guess. In goal, David Raya, like I mentioned, double Arsenal defense with Raya and Gabriel. I think they have a decent chance of getting a clean sheet against Fulham, who aren't the most high-scoring team, even though they did have that 5-4 game or 4-5 game, I guess, against Man City earlier this season. Typically, I don't really expect Fulham away from home to get that many goals against a title-chasing Arsenal squad. So I think Raya and Gabriel provided the goods this past game week on my free hit, or on the free hit draft, I should say. So I'm going to stick with those guys. I think they're going to be pretty good players to have. Nico O'Reilly is just too good at this moment in time. He's playing really far up the pitch. He is still priced as someone that was like a bit of a rotational player leading into this season. He's just a fantastic pick and someone that I'm really worried about not having. I guess the fixture isn't the best. Everton away is like not ideal for anyone really, because that's a tough ground to go to, but O'Reilly and City can do it against anyone. So yeah, I've gone with O'Reilly in defense. I think he just has too much upside to go without basically on a free hit. Pascal Struijk as well. Burnley at home, a really good fixture. You could easily make the case for more Leeds players here as well. I do have Darlow on the bench, but I think Raya is just a better choice from the start there basically. But Struijk is preferred, I think, slightly above the Bournemouth players, but I would not really begrudge you if you want to go with like someone like James Hill or Marco Senesi instead. At home to Palace, who just played in Ukraine against Shakhtar, or not in Ukraine, I guess, because but they played against Shakhtar at least away from home, pretty far away from home as well, on a Thursday. They're going to be a bit tired most likely, so I do think Bournemouth have some really good chances to get a good result against Palace. So I am a little bit a little bit in between choosing Struijk or Hill or Senesi. I think I would go with Hill anyways, because he's been good to me and he's just been better than Senesi since he started playing regularly. So I think like Hill is someone that I would really consider starting. You could even go with 4 defensive players, because I honestly don't think the midfield is that strong. So you could even bench one of the midfielders, but I'm going to take you through them anyway. The strongest midfielder for me still is Bruno Fernandes. Yes, it is Liverpool. It's not the best fixture, but Man United against Liverpool can be anything. It could be 7-0 Liverpool. It could be 4-2 Man United. Like, who knows really? And Fernandes is on the hunt for the assist record. He is on the hunt for points in general. Could get a penalty. It's a really high stakes game in terms of it being the biggest rivalry, probably the biggest rivalry in at least the UK or England, I should say. I think Rangers Celtic for me is like, anyways, this is not about rivalries in the UK, but Fernandes, regardless, is going to be a good player to have in FPL as always, and as the captain as well. I think he is the standout captain, even though it is a pretty tough game against Liverpool. I think Man United have what it takes to get some points in that game. Morgan Rogers at home to Spurs. Again, Villa played away to Nottingham Forest in the Europa League, so they might be a bit tired, but Rogers is someone that can play every single game 90 minutes and be really, really good. But of course, Aston Villa losing 1-0 in that game against Nottingham Forest, not ideal, leading into a weekend game before they play midweek again next week against Nottingham Forest again. But I think Rogers is just in good form. Spurs at home. I think he scored against Spurs last time, because I think I sold him before that game, Spurs away, and then he performed, because that's when people were actually fearing Spurs as like a pretty good team potentially. But nowadays we know better. Spurs, even in the win against Wolves, they didn't really look that impressive. So I think I want to attack that with at least one Aston Villa player, and I think Rogers is the man to go with, just because he's going to play maybe not 90 minutes because of the European games, but at least 70 plus minutes, and potentially 90 minutes as well, because he is an Iron Man and he is really, really good. Hopefully he is an Iron Man and helps the Irons, West Ham, stay up on, compared to Spurs, I guess. Couldn't find the right word there. But anyways, you get the idea. I've also gone with Bruno Guimaraes for Newcastle. He's back fully fit, basically playing. He played about 74 minutes, I think, last time around for Newcastle. And Bruno G at home has just been a really nice player to have this season. And honestly, couldn't really find too many other good alternatives. Like I said, you could go with Hill instead, or maybe even go with someone like Ryan or Tavernier from Bournemouth instead in midfield, rather than Bruno Guimaraes, or Bruno G as people call him for short. But I think just like his home record so far this season, Newcastle kind of they are dwindling now. They are really struggling. So maybe it's not that wise to go with Newcastle players, but I feel like at home, they really need to prove a point now. Brighton are a good team and they are in good form, but I think Newcastle can get something from that game. And Bruno G has been so important for them. I think he could be back in amongst the fold in terms of scoring goals and being just a good, solid player to have in this game week as well. So yeah, I got my Bruno G, even though it's not something that I'm too confident in, but I think he's just been so good at home this season that I want to get a shot at choosing him for the free hit draft, which I'm not even going to use because I don't have my free hit left myself. But anyways, Ryan Cherky as well. I think he's the man in form for Man City currently. I think he's going to play 90 minutes from now until the end of the season, most likely, which is why I'm a bit questioning why I didn't select him in the wildcard draft that I showed to you guys on the Thursday morning. But Yeah, Turkey is still, of course, a really, really good asset. Everton away is not the best fixture though, so that's why I'm also like not completely sure about him either, but he is at least going to play. I'm pretty sure he's going to start and play like 70 plus minutes, maybe 90 minutes, Turkey. And he's just so fun to watch, such a good player, so vital to what City want to do for the rest of the season. So Turkey, I think, just, yeah, has to be there. Man City are chasing the title. I want to go triple Arsenal, triple City from now until the end of the season, pretty much, I think. And Turkey is part of that. Another part of that is Erling Braut Haaland, of course, for Man City, the striker up front. Never in doubt about picking him. He's my vice captain for a reason. I think he's a really, really good choice, as always, of course. He's sort of finding his form again now, right in time for the World Cup as a Norwegian. I appreciate that. Both him and Sørloth, I think, are going to be good strikers in the World Cup. But in the Premier League, Haaland's going to be a really good asset for you guys. And he is someone that I would try to get as soon as possible if you don't have him. And that's a bit of a spoiler for my team selection for GW35 myself, basically. But I also think Victor Gyökeres for Arsenal, he's going to be the striker for them. It is a bit worrying that he gets subbed off for Gabriel Jesus. Like, you'd never want to be that guy, basically. But Gyökeres is the main starting striker, main number 9 for Arsenal. With Saka like sort of in and out of the team a little bit. Gyökeres is also the penalty taker. Even when Saka comes back, I think Gyökeres will still take penalties because he just keeps scoring them. Even this past game against Atletico Madrid, the penalty wasn't the best, but he just shot it hard enough for it to go into the goal. He's been pretty good at that this season. So yeah, Gyökeres, I think, has some pretty nice upside from now until the end of the season, and especially this game at home against Fulham. Arsenal sort of need to have a statement win, I think. Like, they beat Newcastle 1-0 last time, like, quite unconvincingly, but they could, like, if they get like a 2-0 or 3-0 type of lead and they feel a bit more frisky and they can go for scoring a lot of goals. We've seen that in the past, that they can score a lot of goals. I had Gyökeres as captain in game week 2 when he scored 2 goals against Leeds. So yeah, kind of hoping for the same, I guess, for this game week with him playing against Fulham, especially for this free hit draft. I also go with Joao Pedro, which is a bit of a outside choice, I guess, with Chelsea really struggling to score lately, but they have changed their manager. They did score against Leeds and beat Leeds in the FA Cup semi-finals. And I think Joao Pedro is just too good of a striker to ignore at home to Forest. But Forest are also in good form. Chelsea are in bad form, and I think typically Nottingham Forest have made it difficult for Chelsea at the Stamford Bridge. So yeah, I'm not entirely confident about that pick either, but I think Joao Pedro just has tremendous upside, and he's someone that typically strikes and does really well when you least expect it. So I'm kind of expecting it now, so maybe that will go against me, I guess. But I feel like he's a pretty good player to go with as well for Game Week 35. And potentially for the rest of the season, I've had him in my wildcard draft as well, actually. So Joao Pedro is a pretty good choice, I think. Then on my bench, Karl Darlow, I think, like I mentioned, Leeds at home to Burnley is a good fixture to target. I just don't think there's that many good options. You could go with someone like Okafor, for example, in midfield. He's been good form lately. So, or Stach, who's back playing and stuff. You could go with Calvert-Lewin in front, but yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with Stark and have Darlow on as the backup goalkeeper in case something happens to Raya. But Burnley at home is a good fixture. If you have Darlow yourself in your team, start him for sure, unless you have Raya, who is a better choice, I think, for this game week. Finally, 3 Bournemouth players also on the bench, Hill and Senesi. Already talked about those guys and how I would consider starting one of them over Stark, but they're both really good players. You could start both of them. You could go all out on the Bournemouth defense against a pretty tired Palace team who don't really have too much to play for in the Premier League. So I think Hill and Senesi and Bournemouth in general, trying to chase those European spots, is a pretty good team to target. But I've benched all 3 of those guys now, so this looks like a really good bench boost. If you have this team or like something similar to this, like that would be amazing for a bench boost if you still have that chip left. But yeah, Bournemouth players on the bench for now, but you could easily make the case for all of them starting on, honestly, because they have a pretty good fixture, I think, at home to Palace after a really tiring European or Conference League game, I should say, for Palace's sake, basically. As my best alternatives, I'm going with another Aston Villa player in Ollie Watkins. I'm a bit hesitant though, just because they played in the Europa League and he's played the whole 90 minutes. I kind of feel like this is a Tammy Abraham game where he's going to start against Spurs instead, so maybe you should consider him. But I don't know. There are some pretty good choices as well. I think the West Ham against Brentford game between Igor Thiago and Bowen, both those guys who I have in my own team, pretty happy with those guys as well. So I do quite like that. Those guys, which I said a couple times now, for this game week as well. But Watkins with a high upside, if he plays, is also really nice against Spurs at home. But looking at it now, I'm sort of like, maybe I should change the best alternative to Igor Thiago, I think, against West Ham at home. That is a pretty good choice as well. So yeah, you could go with that instead. But plenty of pretty good strikers, I think, this week. No like outstanding picks, but some pretty good choices at the striker position. And I've sort of just copy pasted the best alternatives from this past game week in terms of the free hit selection as well. Bukayo Saka, if he's finally ready to start now, he is a really important player for Arsenal. He has had a really bad season for his standards, especially. But I think he could be vital for Arsenal at the run-in now in the Premier League for getting those goals, to potentially getting the goal difference lead against Man City. Saka would have to provide the goods, and he could be a good player to have. But honestly, I quite like Raya, Gabriel, and Gyökeres. I feel like those guys are more secure for minutes, so I do prefer those guys. But if you want to take a punt, I think as a best alternative, Saka is a good choice. When it comes to defenders, I think I've sort of listed the best defenders already in Gabriel, O'Reilly, Strauch, and the 2 Bournemouth defenders. I don't think there's that many more standout picks in defense. Maybe like another Leeds player if you want to double up on that defense or triple up on Arsenal defense. That could be the way to go. But I wanted to give you another shout, I guess. And I go with Malik Chow, who hasn't had the best end of the season, pretty much just like Newcastle. But he's someone that can score. He can get DEFCON points. He can get clean sheets. At home to Brighton, I think Newcastle sort of have to make a statement in this game. So he's another good alternative, I guess, for you guys. But yeah, probably wouldn't go with him myself. But he is like a worth mentioning type of player at least, but probably not select him for your free hit draft, or especially like a permanent transfer. I don't think he's a good choice. Malik Chow, just felt like I should mention him. So yeah, he's the best alternative in defense. So that's the free hit draft. I've talked for 20 minutes, and now we're going to my current plans for Game Week 35. And I've already made my transfer. Ekitike to Haaland. This was always the preferred move in Game Week 35 after the blank game week for Haaland. I had enough money in the bank, 0.2 left now after doing the transfer. So more than enough to have Haaland in my squad. Of course, I would have liked to have had O'Reilly rather than Virgil van Dijk as well. I could do the -4, I guess, if I really want to change that, especially with 2 Man United players already in the squad. Like I have a bit of a conundrum here in terms of having double Brentford against West Ham, where I have Mavropanos, and I have double Man United against Liverpool as well. So yeah, a bit contradicting teams, I guess, for this selection. But yeah, I'm just going to take you through every player, I guess, which is the last thing I can do. Already talked about Raya and Gabriel in the free hit section. Don't really have to talk much more about those guys. Virgil van Dijk, I mean, he could always score a goal. He could always get DEFCON points, get a clean sheet points. Like I said, the game between Liverpool and Man United is a bit tough to call, so I've sort of covered my bases there, I guess, with Van Dijk, Fernandes, and Mbeumo. And Mbeumo also another player that I would wish to sell. Like, I wish I had more transfers at this point of the season. That's another reason why the Mavropanos move was a bad move, because I benched him this game week and I lost points from him rather than Anderson this past game week. So in hindsight, definitely shouldn't have done that transfer move, but I just wanted someone on the bench in case someone didn't play. But yeah, of course, instead I got Mukiele with 0 points, conceding 5 goals anyways, so it didn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, back to the defense again. Mukiele, I've gone with him again despite conceding 5 goals this past game week, but he's playing Wolves. Like, it could happen for him. I am just like happy, like, since he scored and got 15 points against Spurs, I'm just like rooting for him to do well, continue to do well. Sunderland are still like sorta in the runnings for European spots. They've been a pretty good team this season. They also want to finish above Newcastle, so they have plenty to play for. I think Wolves don't really have too much to play for. They're bottom of the league. They're relegated already. Mukiele is a decent player to have for this game week as well. Another defender you could potentially target if you're free hitting, for example. But yeah, in midfield, Fernandes is easy. Talked about him already. Mbeumo, like I said, wish I had a different player, but at the same time, played him against Liverpool earlier this season and he scored and did well. Like, he could easily do have a really good game again. Like, he is a good player, hasn't been the best form lately, but I don't mind having him. He's fully healthy at least, so I have that going for me. Semenyo hasn't really been in the best form either, but I think he's someone that could all of a sudden score goals if he just gets his touches right and stuff. He's been a bit unlucky in terms of just getting the final touch, the final shot and stuff to go his way. So I don't really mind him either. Like, I do quite like that about my team. Like, I have quite a lot of like differentials, I guess, who are, I mean, Semenyo's not like the biggest differential, but he could do well, like surprisingly so, because he hasn't been in the best form, but he's still a fantastic player who also sort of wants to make his case for player of the season. I still think if he has a strong end to the season and Man City win the league, he has a really good case for player of the season as well, alongside Fernandes, of course, and my boy Declan Rice. Those guys are in the runnings. Maybe Haaland as well. Maybe, yeah, that's as far as I'll go for the players of the season, I think, for the Premier League. Dango Ouattara's not going to be the player of the season this year, but he could get a good score against West Ham. I'm sort of fearing that as well. It's a tough game for West Ham against Brentford, and I do have two Brentford players. I mean, I guess I'm going to hope for like a high scoring game or West Ham win like 6-0 and Dango and Thiago blank, because I don't care. I would just want West Ham to survive, honestly. But I'm going to start Dango and Thiago, of course. They have on paper a really good fixture, and if they score, at least I get some consolation. And like last game week showed that you can have players from the team playing against your favorite team, and it still works out in the end with your favorite team winning and you're still getting FPL points. So that could happen as well. But yeah, I just want West Ham to win 6-0 and Bowen to score 6 goals. Is that too much to ask? I don't know. But speaking of Bowen, he is in my team, of course, as well. I'm not going to sell him either. He's been in good form. The fixtures aren't the best, but Bowen is the best. Well, this season has been sort of like low-key, like a little bit underwhelming from Bowen in overall play, but in terms of goals and assists, he always delivers the goods. So even though his like general play hasn't been as good this season, he just finds a way to win, finds a way to get those assists like he did this past game week as well against Everton. Like, he's such a good player, and he definitely should go with England to the World Cup, just like on the premise that he has been so consistently good for so many good seasons as well. That's my hot take, that he's been better. He's been a better Premier League player so far than Bukayo Saka. That's my hot take. But anyways, throughout all the seasons in the Premier League, they have pretty similar like stats and games played and stuff. But Bowen, of course, plays for not as good of a team as Arsenal, sadly, I say as a West Ham fan. But hopefully someday we win the Premier League. That would be awesome. 10 years to the day of, or almost to the day, I guess, of Leicester winning the league. You can always dream as like a lower, like not a big six team, I guess, to win the league at some point. But anyways, why am I talking about West Ham winning the league in an FPL video? Most of you guys have probably clicked off by now anyways, but who cares? Thiago also at home to West Ham. Hopefully doesn't do much, but yeah, just in case, of course, have him in the team. He could easily score a couple goals. I think Brentford has been historically a very tough opponent for West Ham, so I am quite fearful as a West Ham fan there, but as an FPL manager, could be points for me at least. But yeah, Haaland already talked about, don't really have to mention him either. On the bench, Dubravka against Leeds away. Raya is just a superior goalkeeper there. Mavropanos against Brentford away. Again, it is a bit of a contradicting team there. If I start him, it would sort of cap my highest level of points, because if he gets a clean sheet, then Dango and Thiago don't score. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for both of those, or all three of those players to do well at the same time, pretty much. Dewsbury Hall against Man City at home. I'm actually like, the more I'm looking at this and the more I'm talking about it, and me not having a City defender, it is kind of tempting to go with him, but I think like Mbeumo would be the one to bench, I think, out of these players, and it's just not worth it. I think Mbeumo was just a better pick than Dewsbury Hall. So I'm going to stick him to the bench, but I might pick him first bench over Mavropanos, but who knows? I'm also like slightly tempted to go Mavropanos over Van Dijk, because I have sort of the same conundrum. I have double Brentford against Van Dijk, or I have double Man United against Mavropanos. Like either way, I'm going to have a double attack against one of my players. So maybe I start Mavropanos over Van Dijk, but Van Dijk is just a better choice, better asset, I think, overall. So yeah, probably going to lean towards Van Dijk rather than Mavropanos there anyways. But Anderson, also someone that I could go with, I guess, but playing against Arsenal, could, I guess, hope for a 0-0. That could be the case. Maybe I'm also, once again, getting punished by benching Anderson. But yeah, Arsenal away just feels like the right thing to do, to put him third bench pretty much on my team. So yeah, I think that's it. I could do a -4, but I haven't really done -4s either this season or this past season. I'm going to stick to my principles, I guess, in that regard. Don't feel like there's any like massive difference that I can make in terms of transfers. Like I could do Van Dijk to O'Reilly, but realistically, do you expect O'Reilly to get 4 more points than Van Dijk this game week by itself? I could do Van Dijk to O'Reilly next game week anyways, and save myself, well, not save myself a transfer because I have 0 transfers left regardless, but save myself the -4 and do it for free, I guess, next week instead. I could do that, but yeah, that's next week's video. That's next week's problems. Not going to talk more about that. Just going to put this video out. I sort of, for good reason, I had to postpone the videos a bit this week because I've been very busy with work and other things. So yeah, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you stuck around until now. If you did already, or if you did, you stuck around even through me bumbling through English as my second language, I guess. Yeah, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. If you've watched all this video and you enjoyed it, with me being in a really good mood actually this morning as I'm recording this, right before I upload it. Actually, I typically record the evening or the night before, and then I upload it in the morning. But now, for different reasons, I had to do it in the morning. But anyways, yeah, that's it, I think, for the video. I'm rambling now. Lost my train of thought anyways. So hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye bye.